Machiavelli's The Prince, Il Principe, written in 1513 and published posthumously in 1532, is one of the most influential political treatises ever written. A guide to ruling and maintaining power, it offers pragmatic, often ruthless advice to rulers. Machiavelli's work has been interpreted in various ways, from a manual for despots to a realistic analysis of power politics. This essay explores The Prince in depth, covering its historical context, themes, structure, and impact. Historical context. Machiavelli wrote The Prince in a period of political turmoil in Italy. At the time, Italy was not a unified country, but a collection of city-states, often at war with one another and vulnerable to foreign invasions. The Medici family had recently returned to power in Florence after a period of Republican rule, during which Machiavelli had served as a diplomat and military official. After the Medici coup in 1512, Machiavelli was arrested, tortured, and exiled. It was during this exile that he wrote The Prince, likely in an attempt to regain favor with the Medici rulers. Unlike medieval political philosophy, which was largely idealistic and influenced by religious principles, Machiavelli's approach was grounded in realism. He rejected moral considerations in politics, arguing instead that rulers must focus on power, stability, and practical success. Structure and main ideas. The book consists of 26 chapters, divided into several sections that deal with different aspects of ruling. Below is an overview of the key themes Machiavelli explores: types of principalities and how to maintain them. Machiavelli distinguishes between different kinds of states or principalities. 1. Hereditary principalities. These are passed down through a ruling family. Machiavelli argues they are the easiest to govern because the people are accustomed to the dynasty's rule. 2. New principalities. These can be newly acquired through conquest, luck, or political maneuvering. Maintaining control over them is more difficult, as the ruler must secure his power and manage potential opposition. 3. Mixed principalities. These are newly acquired territories that were previously independent or ruled by another prince. Here, Machiavelli advises rulers to eliminate former rulers and their supporters to secure control. Machiavelli also discusses how rulers should deal with conquered people. He famously argues that if a prince must harm someone, he should do so decisively and completely, ensuring they cannot retaliate. Military strength and the role of armies. Machiavelli is clear about the importance of military power. He warns against reliance on mercenaries or auxiliary troops who are often disloyal and ineffective. Instead, he advocates for a ruler to maintain his own military forces, as a strong army is crucial for maintaining power and deterring rebellion or invasion. Fortuna. Two central concepts in The Prince are virtu and fortuna. Virtu refers to a ruler's ability, strength, and decisiveness. It is not moral virtue, but rather the skills and qualities needed to maintain power. Fortuna represents luck or fate. Machiavelli acknowledges that fortune plays a role in politics, but a strong ruler can shape his destiny by acting boldly and adapting to circumstances. Machiavelli argues that a successful prince must have both virtù and the ability to manage fortuna. He famously compares fortune to a river that can flood and cause destruction, but a wise ruler will prepare defenses in advance. The use of cruelty and deception. One of the most controversial aspects of The Prince is Machiavelli's acceptance of cruelty and deceit in politics. He argues that a ruler should not hesitate to use force, deception, or manipulation if necessary to maintain stability. However, cruelty should be used strategically. It should be decisive, carried out all at once, and not repeated unnecessarily. Machiavelli also contends that rulers should appear virtuous while being willing to act immorally when necessary. He famously writes that it is better for a prince to be feared than loved, as long as he avoids being hated. Fear ensures obedience, whereas love is fickle and unreliable. The role of religion and morality. Machiavelli's views on religion and morality are pragmatic. He acknowledges the power of religion in maintaining order, but suggests that rulers should use it strategically rather than be guided by it. He criticizes the church for political corruption, but recognizes its influence over the masses. Traditional medieval thinkers saw rulers as divinely chosen and obligated to rule justly according to Christian principles. In contrast, Machiavelli argues that morality should be secondary to political success. A ruler who is too concerned with being good may lose power to a more ruthless competitor. How a prince gains and maintains power. Machiavelli provides case studies of historical rulers to illustrate his principles. He praises leaders like Cesare Borgia for their cunning and decisiveness. Cesare, the son of Pope Alexander VI, used strategic alliances, assassinations, and military force to consolidate power. Although his rule ultimately failed, Machiavelli sees him as an example of effective political leadership. He also examines other historical leaders, including Roman emperors and contemporary European rulers, analyzing their successes and failures. He emphasizes that rulers who rely solely on luck or the goodwill of others tend to fall from power. Impact and legacy. Since its publication, The Prince has been both admired and condemned. Many saw it as a cynical and dangerous justification for tyranny. Others viewed it as a realistic guide to politics. Some of its key ideas influenced later political thinkers, including Thomas Hobbes, who also emphasized power and self-interest in his political philosophy. During the Renaissance, the book was controversial, especially among religious authorities. The Catholic Church placed The Prince on its Index of Prohibited Books in 1559, condemning its perceived immorality. However, it remained widely read among rulers and political thinkers. In modern times, The Prince is considered a foundational text in political science. Its emphasis on power, strategy, and pragmatism has influenced leaders across history, from Napoleon Bonaparte to modern politicians. Terms like Machiavellian have entered popular vocabulary, often referring to cunning, manipulative, or ruthless behavior. Criticism and interpretations. Machiavelli's work has been subject to various interpretations. 1. A satire. Some scholars argue that The Prince was not meant to be taken literally, but was a satirical critique of tyrannical rulers. They believe Machiavelli was subtly exposing the corruption of his time rather than endorsing it. 2. A Republican thinker. Despite the authoritarian tone of The Prince, Machiavelli also wrote Discourses on Livy, where he praises Republican government. Some believe that The Prince was a temporary strategy for securing stability, while Machiavelli's true preference was for a free republic. 3. A manual for power. Others see The Prince as a straightforward guide for rulers, teaching them how to maintain control regardless of moral considerations. The Prince remains one of the most debated books in political history. Its pragmatic approach to power, emphasis on realism, and rejection of idealism set it apart from earlier political writings. Whether viewed as a guide for rulers, a critique of tyranny, or a study of human nature, The Prince continues to be relevant today. Machiavelli's insights into power dynamics, leadership, and political strategy make his work essential reading for anyone interested in politics, history, or human behavior.